This is Radio TV Phono Nut, and what you're looking at is a Beam 78 RPM record player from 1949. Yes, I've already looked inside, and I'll go ahead and tell you that it uses two 50B5 tubes. One is an output tube, one is a rectifier tube. I've never seen that before. I feel like what happened is they got a good deal on 50B5, since by 49 they were pretty much out of favor for the new 50C5, and also two 50-volt tubes in series will require a smaller dropping resistor than, say, a 50-volt output tube in series with a 35W4 rectifier tube. So that could have been another reason for this. And I know you're staring at this and saying that something doesn't look right. Well, no, it doesn't look right, does it? It doesn't even look like it will accommodate a 10-inch record, and it won't. In fact, if we look at the tone arm, it's not even angled correctly. Now, it would seem that this is one of those record players that somehow slipped past the quality control department, but no, that's not what's happening here. The way you play a record on this is you move the turntable out, and that gives us enough room to put up to a 12-inch record on the turntable, and the arm tracks at the correct angle now. Now, I've already measured the tracking pressure, and it's around 33 grams, and the needle feels like a nail that somebody stuck up in here. Fortunately, the tone arm is plastic, so we can take this old heavy cartridge out and put a static 89T in here, and it'll be much lighter and easier on the records. Alright, let's turn it on and see what happens. See if it blows up. One day I'm going to turn on something and smoke and fire is going to shoot out of it, and let's see if today is the day. Well, is my outlet making? No, my outlet wasn't making good connection. Okay, hang on. Bent the prongs back a little bit. Now it's making better contact, and surprisingly I'm not hearing any idler wheel bump, but as you might expect, the filter capacitor is bad. Volume control's scratchy. Do my ears deceive me, or does this cartridge actually have a little bit of output?
Making spirits bright, what fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle all one bar.
Well, I'll be darned, we don't see that much. Alright, let's fix the amplifier, and heck, we can just leave this cartridge in there if it's got enough output when we're done. Darn camera won't focus, but yeah, get rid of the roofing nail though. Here's the inside, not much to it. The main filter cap, one paper capacitor, and two resistors. Stuff looks like war surplus parts, which is highly possible because a lot of companies, especially these back alley companies, bought up floor sweepings and World War II surplus parts to build this stuff. Okay, I decided to make a safety change here since this chassis is so spacious. This was originally a hot chassis with the power switch in the hot side of the line. Chassis was circuit ground, so potentially dangerous there. I replaced the power cord with a polarized one with the narrow blade, hot side, and the switch. The only thing I'm using the chassis for is cartridge ground with a 0.015 microfarad safety capacitor between the chassis and what will be used for circuit ground, this pin here on the terminal strip. So we should be a lot safer now. I'll show you something a little odd about this circuit design. Normally, coming off of the cathode or the rectifier, whether it be tube or solid state, you have a filter capacitor, which we have in this case. And then you have somewhere between a 5K and an 18K ohm between your rectifier tube cathode and the screen grid of the output tube. Well, this one's not quite that way. On the input side, we have a 470 ohm resistor where the AC comes in here to our filament, and then we go through a 470 ohm resistor to the plate of the rectifier tube, and then coming off of the cathode we have our main 40 microfarad in the old days, 47 today, filter cap, and then we have just a jumper from there to the screen grid of the output tube. So we only have one power supply filter and then a lower voltage 22 microfarad for the cathode bypass of the output tube. So yeah, a little bit unconventional, but still works. Alright, here we are, all modified now, so let's put it all back together and see if it amplifies or blows up. Alright, I did kind of a light cleaning on the mechanism. I didn't fully disassemble it. I did take the spindle out and clean all that out and repack it with white lithium grease and clean the motor shaft and the idler wheel surface and the inner rim of the platter, and just oiled the motor wicks and put a drop of oil on the idler wheel shaft. This thing was running pretty smoothly as it was, and I wasn't going to take it all apart. I just, like I said, did a light cleaning on it, and it seems to be fine. And this is how this works. You see it has a clip here that holds it in this position, and when I move it back, it has two clips back there that holds it in the storage position. Found a needle out of another old record player. It's probably not in the best shape either, so I'll have to I'm going to order a sapphire needle to put in here, I believe. I could use steel needles, but you have to change those after each record play, and just more convenient to put a sapphire needle in there, and you can get a few hundred plays out of it. So that's what I think we'll. Well, here's the tracking pressure, 34 grams. Now, of course, that figure would make audiophiles cringe, but back in the 78 era, that was considered featherweight. But you have to remember that a 78 RPM record has a wider groove than a 45 or LP. The frequency response is usually not as broad, and they are a lot easier to track. So in such a case as a 78, 34 grams is really nothing to get worked up over. Now, I still wouldn't play my valuable 78s at that pressure, but your average thrift store junk that's already worn out, and have at it. And since this cartridge is currently working, I'm not going to change it out. Okay, the needle I salvaged out of another phonograph was crud, so I found a steel needle, and it sounds a lot better. Of course, these are supposed to be changed after each record side. But this cartridge is plenty hot. And just so you can tell I'm not lying, as you can see, that's an static flat metal crystal cartridge, and it does not appear to have been rebuilt, and it's still plenty hot. So every once in a while that happens, but it doesn't happen much.
It's the season to be jolly, la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, la 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 la. Through the ancient.
As Long Name No Can Say passed the neighbors' houses, the neighbors all came out to look at him. Of course, he didn't want them to miss anything, and there was a great deal of him for them to see. So he walked very slowly to give them all a chance to admire everything about him. And as he passed each, one neighbor would turn to another and laugh, and the other neighbor would say, "Fat boy, very, very funny. She all wet, all the same right ground let." But Long Name No Can Say didn't hear them. So he strutted more proudly than ever, and bulged out his stomach until he looked like a pouter pigeon pouting in the wrong place. When he got to the edge of the village, he was so hot and so wet and so thirsty that he just had to have a drink of water. So he waddled over to the village well.
Unfortunately, I don't have the entire set of these records, but
which towered over the
this is just one I use for testing purposes.
This was a very fine well, and a very deep one, with very cold water that was simply wonderful to drink. And the well had sloping
I think I'll just leave this cartridge in there and just see how long it holds up.
As long name no can say,
and if it dies, it won't be a big deal, and 89T will easily fit in this tone arm, so...
His reflection was just as fat as his
And it's a plastic arm, so it shouldn't be an issue with tracking pressure.
He said, "Very, very pretty fellow. Nicky, nicky, tembo, no so lembo, uma muchi, gamma, gamma, buchi." Of course, the three musicians played as he spoke his name, and as his lips...
All right, there you go. Another one for the oddball phonograph collection.